Hi guys, so I did a video earlier giving some tips about ways to stop ruminating, ways to feel better in yourself, and I want to do a part two now with the rest of the points that I came up with when it comes to ways that you can feel better when you're ruminating or you're getting into negative ruts. So the first thing I would say in this video is, notice when you're ruminating, and you can even tell yourself stop in your head or out loud if you want to. So notice every time that you start really ruminating and getting into those rabbit holes of thought, and notice that like you're doing it, and just try and kind of catch yourself in the act and tell yourself stop and cut it off, and try to do that as often as possible so that it becomes a habit and you start noticing more often that you are ruminating. Next point is to stop exaggerating your thoughts or how you think about something. So don't cling on to it. And we hear about this when it comes to people that talk about meditation, for example. It's about letting the thoughts pass in and out, and don't cling on to them as like this is me or this is reality. Just recognize that this is a thought, and just kind of don't cling on to it, because that makes you go into makes you turn that into like a big ball of things, and you keep making it bigger and bigger and exaggerating it. So just let it come and just try and take it for what it is, if that makes any sense to you. Like just take it for what it is and don't cling on to it and don't exaggerate it. And that's just something that takes a lot of practice. And it takes, first of all, it takes you it takes you recognizing that you are ruminating, and it takes you like you need to recognize when you're ruminating, and you need to recognize when you're clinging on to thoughts and exaggerating them. And that's something that I'm learning more and more myself as well, and it's just something that you have to practice. Very common tip that I will give next is exercise. So when I exercise, I immediately feel better. I feel better during it, I feel better afterwards. So depends on the kinds of exercises I do, but generally exercise makes me feel better, even if it's relatively vigorous. Like I'm not able to ruminate during my exercises. Like I'm not really able to I'm not sitting there thinking. So I'm actively, my body is active. I'm actively involved in the moving of my body. So I'm not in my head, I'm not ruminating. And so I feel better during it because I'm not ruminating. And I feel better afterwards. I feel refreshed. I may feel tired. I may feel exhausted, but I feel better in myself. So please exercise as often as you can, because like it does help so much. Today is actually my exercise day, so I try to exercise like every other day. I've had different periods. I've gone through different apps, different exercise coaches, like on my Alexa and things like that. There's a lot of different ways that I've exercised. I've done free form, like just coming up with my own things. I've done guided stuff. So there's different routines that I've gone through, and I would say experiment, and it's fine to experiment and like try different things rather than kind of sticking to one way of exercising every time. I've gone through periods where I've done it different ways and different frequencies. So I've exercised, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. I've exercised every other day, like I'm doing right now. I've even had a period where I've exercised every single day, and that was actually a long period. It wasn't particularly vigorous, but I was doing it every day. So just find whatever works for you. And there's a lot of channels on YouTube as well that like you can exercise with. There's a lot of different ways. Just look around, experiment, look around at different ways of exercising. There's different exercise routines and movements you can do. If you want any specific tips about that, you can email me at mattothinks@gmail.com, and I can give you some guidance on that, like things that I've used and things that have worked for me. So exercise, and preferably regular exercise. It kind of keeps that good feeling going if you exercise regularly, rather than kind of just exercising maybe once a month or something. If you keep doing it often and regularly, you kind of don't get down for too long then, if that makes sense, because when you're exercising, you're not ruminating, and so you want to be in those non-ruminative states as often as possible. You know what I mean? So there's that. Now this next point is something that really helps me, and it's something that I should probably try to do more, is try something new, do something new, something that you haven't done at all ever before, or something that you don't do very often. So for me, it's things like cooking something new that I've never cooked before, or baking something that I've never baked before, or just things that I don't do often. It's something that it takes a bit more of a, this point takes a bit more of a push sometimes to find something. Like you have to push yourself to find something that is that will be good to do that you've never done before. So it might take a bit more pushing this point, but once you find that thing that you're going to do, like that really can be really helpful. Because I always, for example, just from personal experience, like I feel really good after I've cooked something new or baked something new or just tried something new, like done something that I didn't expect to do, went to a new town that I've never gone before, or just watched a movie that I've been meaning to watch maybe for a long time, but I've never got around to it. So that's a new experience for me. That movie I've never seen before, so it's a new experience for me. So newness, new experiences can really get you out of a rut, and can like give you a lift. It's a lift, uplifting feeling to try something new and have it be enjoyable. Next point is talk to a friend or vent to a friend. So I do this a lot, but I will say with this one, it isn't, I might make a separate video about this actually, because I have a lot of personal experience with this. But you have to be careful not to go overboard with that, because people have their own lives, they have their own problems. So you want to be careful not to exhaust people, and you also want to be careful to, if at all possible, be as specific as possible about what you're going through, what the problem is, so that the person can find it easier to give advice. Because if you're giving very vague information, then people don't really know what to do with that. But if you're saying like, I have this problem, or I think this about this, and I feel sad about this, they can advise you because they have a better idea of what is causing the issue, or what the issue actually physically, or specifically, sorry, what it specifically is. Whereas if you're just giving vague information, you're just kind of rambling in a vague way, like that, it can make it harder for people to help you. They want to help you, but they feel helpless. They don't know what to do because it's too vague. The problem seems too vague. I think that's probably the case. Like sometimes when you're venting a lot, some of your venting can be so vague that it's hard for people to like give specific advice. They want to be there for you, but they don't know what to do. So there's that. Just be careful with how much you vent, but it can definitely help. So I included this as one of the points, is that like talk to people, vent to people. Social connection, human connection is very healthy, obviously, and it's very something that can really help when you're ruminating or when you're feeling sad about something. Yeah. Next point is another thing that helps me is look at nature. So, for example, I have a spot in like in my kitchen window, like where I look out my kitchen window, I see a lot of I see trees, and I see birds, and I see the sky, I see like the weather, I see what's going on with the weather, and it's like something that I can kind of observe. And when I go for walks, I like to observe birds. I like to look at trees. Sometimes I like to touch grass or touch plants or bushes, just kind of get a feel and get into the moment by kind of being present with nature. So any way that you can look at nature, be present in nature, I say go for it. And this leads me to my next point, which is try to get out of your head, which I've talked about this in another video actually. Try to get out of your head by focusing on your environment around you, and try to describe your environment. So it gets you out of your head and gets you thinking and talking about something other than like your issues, for example. So what kind of trees are around me? Can I say the names of the trees? What color are the walls around me? Is there wallpaper? How is the furniture positioned around me? And if you can have a conversation with someone who's willing to have you talk this way, have a conversation like that. Specifically go to a friend and ask like, hey, can I describe my environment? It sounds strange, but if you explain that you're doing this to feel better about your problems, or to stop ruminating, go to a friend and ask like, is it okay if I kind of take 5 minutes to describe my environment to you? So I did this a couple of times with somebody. So I described the environment around me as I went into as much detail as possible, and it helps me get out of my head for a little while, and it helps me practice focusing on something other than like my issues, for example. And my next point sounds funny, but cleaning the house can actually help in that, especially if you put music on or maybe a podcast or something, it can help you to again focus on something other than your problems, and you're actually being very productive, because we need to have a, we need to keep our environment and our house as clean as we can, because that actually helps our well-being as well. So cleaning can, even if you just take like 15 minutes to clean a room, like there's something about it that can be, it sounds funny, I was going to say empowering, but that's a funny word to use, but there's like a good feeling that comes from, that arises from just taking some time out to clean a room or organizing something and making it look better. And that leads me to my last point, which I thought I would kind of add to the tail end here, is sometimes when you really need to like feel different in the moment, if you even change your clothes or cut your hair, or get a haircut. So for me, like for the past while, I've actually been cutting my own hair, so that actually helps me. Like it usually is a very spontaneous decision that I make in the moment, like I'm feeling in a rut, or I'm feeling kind of like I want to do something different, and I feel ready in the moment, and I just do it. I just cut my hair. uh, if you don't cut your own hair, you can make an appointment to a hairdresser or whatever, or and try to get it as close to possible to now as you can, so that you're might be going in the same mood that you're in now. So that will actually help you, like change your appearance, change your clothes, change your hair. Like that can actually, it sounds funny, but it can actually help you feel different. So these are I made 2 videos now about this, so I'm gonna link part 1 of things you can do to stop ruminating. And if you enjoyed this, please leave a thumbs up and leave a comment if any of these points help you particularly. What particular points help you the most, and subscribe if you want more from me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped. Thanks.